The huge alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It was 3 times bigger than the largest human spaceship. People all over the world looked up and wondered what would happen next. Jack Sullivan straightened his tie and took a deep breath. As Earth's top diplomat, he was chosen to meet the aliens first. At 55, with gray in his dark hair and 20 years of military service, before becoming a diplomat, Jack was not easily scared. But today, his hands shook slightly. "Ambassador, they're ready for you," said his assistant. Jack nodded and walked into the meeting room at the United Nations building in New York. 7 different alien species sat around the large table. They had different shapes, colors, and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others were very strange with multiple eyes or limbs. "Welcome, human," said a tall, blue-skinned alien named Krell. "We are the Galactic Council. We rule the stars around you." Jack smiled politely. "On behalf of Earth, I welcome you all. We are honored by your visit." The aliens looked at each other. One with silver skin and large black eyes spoke next. "We have watched your planet for some time. You are young and primitive compared to us, but we see potential." Jack kept his face calm, but inside he felt anger at being called primitive. Humans had built cities, created art, explored their solar system, and cured many diseases, but he knew that starting an argument would not help Earth. "We invite Earth to join the Galactic Council as an observing species," Krell said. "This is the first level of membership. You will learn our ways and follow our rules." "That is very generous," Jack said carefully. "What does being an observing species mean for us?" A plant-like alien with green vines for arms explained. "You may attend council meetings but cannot vote. You must share your resources with council worlds. You cannot expand to new planets without permission." Jack wrote notes as they spoke. These terms would limit Earth a lot, but refusing might be dangerous since these aliens had much better technology and weapons. "I will take your offer to Earth's leaders," Jack said. "We need time to think about it." The aliens seemed surprised. "Most species accept immediately," said Krell. Jack smiled again. Humans like to consider all options before making big decisions. After the meeting, a purple-skinned alien approached Jack. She was smaller than the others, with 4 arms and silver eyes. "I am Zariel of the Veldari," she said. "I will be your guide to council ways. You handled yourself well in there." Most new species are too afraid to ask for time to think. "Thank you," Jack said. "Humans can be stubborn sometimes." Zariel's mouth moved in what might have been a smile. "The council finds your species interesting. You developed faster than any race we have seen. Some council members are concerned about this." "Concerned? Why?" "Because fast growth can be hard to control," Zariel said. "The council likes control." 6 months later, humans had built their first space embassy on Centauri Station. Jack lived there now as Earth's official ambassador. He learned that the Galactic Council had ruled for 3,000 years. They controlled hundreds of worlds and dozens of species. Jack sent regular reports to Earth. "The Council sees us as children," he wrote in one message. "They are surprised by how quickly we learn their technology. They don't understand humans very well." Earth's leaders decided to accept observing status for now. It gave humans time to learn about space politics and alien technology. Jack watched and listened carefully at every meeting. "We need to be careful," he told his team. "The Council is not used to a species like us, and I'm not sure they have our best interests in mind." As Jack looked out at the stars from his embassy window, he wondered what the future would bring. Humanity had taken its first steps into a much larger universe. But that universe, he was learning, was filled with danger as well as wonder. 5 years passed since humans met the Galactic Council. Earth had changed a lot in that time. People now lived on Mars, Europa, and 2 planets around other stars. Humans were moving to space faster than anyone expected. Lieutenant Maya Reeves stood on the bridge of her ship, the U.S. Horizon. She was 32, with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her ship patrolled the edge of human space, near the border with the Krex Empire. "Lieutenant, we're picking up unusual activity near Asteroid Belt 12, said Officer Ryan Lewis, looking up from his screen. Maya walked over. "Show me." The screen showed 3 large ships cutting into a huge asteroid. They were not human ships. "Krex mining vessels," Maya said, frowning. "And they're in our territory." The Krex were the most aggressive species in the Galactic Council. They looked like tall, muscular humans, but with gray skin and ridges on their heads. They were known for taking what they wanted. "Should we contact them, Lieutenant?" asked Ryan. "Yes," Maya said. "Open a channel." A Krex captain appeared on screen. He had dark eyes and a permanent frown. "Krex vessels, you are mining in human territory," Maya said calmly. "Please withdraw immediately." The Krex captain laughed. "Human, this belt was never officially claimed by your kind. We found it first." "That's not true," Maya replied. "We registered this area with the Galactic Council last year." "Your primitive records mean nothing," the Krex said. "Leave us to our work." The screen went dark. Maya sighed and turned to her crew. "Record everything. Take detailed scans of their mining operation. We need evidence for Earth leadership." This was not the first problem with the Krex. For months, they had been pushing into human space, taking resources, and leaving before human ships could respond. Back on Earth, Jack Sullivan read Maya's report with concern. He was in a meeting with General Paul Winters and other leaders. "The Krex are testing us," Jack said. "They take a little more each time to see what we'll do." General Winters nodded. "We need to show strength or they'll keep pushing." "I've tried diplomatic channels," Jack explained. "The Council refuses to help. They call it a minor border issue that we should solve ourselves." "So the Council won't help us?" asked Lisa Chen, Earth's Defense Secretary. "Worse than that," Jack said. "I think some Council members are encouraging the Krex. They're worried about how fast humans are growing." On the other side of the room, Ben Howard from Intelligence showed them a map. Red dots showed all the places where Krex ships had entered human territory. "It's not random," Ben said. "They're specifically targeting areas rich in metals we need for our expansion." General Winters stood up. "We should send more ships to patrol our borders." "The Council might see that as aggressive," Jack warned. "But doing nothing is dangerous too," Lisa said. While Earth's leaders debated, Maya Reeves and her crew continued their patrol. 2 days later, they found more Krex ships in human territory. "They're getting bolder," Ryan said as they watched from a safe distance. Maya nodded. "And there are more ships this time." On her screen, she could see 5 Krex vessels stripping resources from a moon that humans had planned to mine. The Krex had brought warships as guards this time. "They're expecting us," Maya said quietly. "They want a confrontation." Maya sent another report to Earth. This time, she included a personal note. "The Krex are not just stealing resources. They're trying to provoke us. Whatever Earth decides, we need to decide soon." As tension grew in space, Zariel, Jack's Veldari friend, visited him at the Earth Embassy. "Jack, I came to warn you," she said, her silver eyes serious. "Some Council members are secretly supporting the Krex against humans." "Why?" Jack asked, although he suspected the answer. "Fear," Zariel said simply. "No species has ever expanded as quickly as humans. The Council fears what you might become." Jack looked out at the stars. "So they want to slow us down?" "Yes," Zariel said. "Be careful, my friend. The Council is playing a dangerous game with your people." The science base on Europa was quiet except for the low hum of machines. 48 scientists lived and worked there, studying the ocean under the moon's icy surface. Dr. Alan Wright was working late in his lab when the alarm started. "Warning. Unknown ships approaching. All personnel to safe rooms." Alan looked at his screen. 5 ships were landing near the base. They weren't human ships. "Krex," he whispered. He grabbed his data pad and ran toward the safe room. Loud crashes echoed through the base. The Kreks were breaking in. Alan heard screams and the sound of weapons firing. He hid in a storage closet, holding his breath as heavy footsteps passed by. Through a small crack in the door, he saw them. Tall gray figures in armor, carrying large guns. They were shooting everything: computers, equipment, and people. "Find all humans," one Krex ordered. "No witnesses." Alan stayed hidden for hours. When it was finally quiet, he crept out. The base was destroyed. His friends and colleagues lay dead. Tears ran down his face as he checked each body, hoping to find someone alive. No one had survived except him. The base had a small emergency ship. Alan took it and escaped, carrying video evidence of the attack. His hands shook as he set course for Earth. 2 days later, Alan stood before Earth's leaders. His face was pale and his eyes were red from crying. 47 people dead, he said, his voice breaking. The Kreks killed everyone. The room was silent as they watched the video Alan had brought. It showed the Kreks soldiers methodically destroying the base and killing the scientists. Many people in the room looked away, unable to watch. "This is an act of war," General Winters said when the video ended. Jack Sullivan nodded grimly. "We need to take this to the Galactic Council. They can't ignore this level of aggression." "And if they do?" Lisa Chen asked. No one answered. They all knew what would happen if the Council refused to help. Earth would have to fight alone. Admiral Diane Powell spoke up. She was the commander of Earth's space fleet. "My ships are ready. Just give the order." "Let's try diplomacy one more time," Jack said, "but prepare for the worst." Meanwhile, Intelligence Officer Kevin Martinez was working in a secure room deep under Washington, D.C. for months. He had been tracking unusual communication patterns between Council worlds and the Kreks. Kevin was good at finding hidden information. At 38, he had spent 20 years in intelligence work. Today, he finally had proof of what he had suspected. "Sir, you need to see this," he told his supervisor, showing him decoded messages. The messages showed that 3 Council species had been secretly sending weapons and ships to the Kreks. They had encouraged the Kreks to push into human territory, and had even helped plan the attack on Europa. "Send this to Sullivan immediately," the supervisor ordered. On Centauri Station, Jack received the intelligence report just before his meeting with the Council. His face hardened as he read it. "They knew," he said to his assistant. "They helped plan the attack." Jack requested an emergency session of the full Galactic Council. All 7 Council species would be there, along with representatives from the 23 observing species. Before the meeting, Zariel came to see Jack. Her silver eyes were sad. "I tried to warn my government," she said. "The Veldari want no part in this aggression against humans, but we are only one voice on the Council." "Thank you for trying," Jack said. "What should I expect today?" "They will dismiss your concerns," Zariel warned. "They will say the Kreks acted alone. They will suggest humans were at fault." Jack nodded slowly. "And if we demand justice for our dead?" Zariel looked away. "The Council will suggest you return to Earth until humans are more mature." Jack's eyes flashed with anger. 47 innocent scientists were murdered. "We will not be dismissed." Zariel touched his arm with one of her 4 hands. "Be careful, Jack. The Council has never faced a species like yours. They don't understand that humans fight hardest when backed into a corner." "They're about to learn," Jack said quietly. The Council chamber on Centauri Station was huge and round. 7 large seats for the main Council species formed a half circle at the front. Behind them were smaller seats for the 23 observing species, including Earth. Jack Sullivan walked into the chamber with Dr. Alan Wright beside him. Alan still looked pale and tired. His hand shook slightly as he carried the data pad with evidence from Europa. "Stay calm," Jack told him quietly. "Let me do the talking." All 7 Council members were present. Krill, the blue-skinned leader, sat in the center. The Kreks representative sat to his right, looking smug and unworried. This emergency session will now begin, Krell announced. Earth has requested this meeting. Ambassador Sullivan, you may speak. Jack walked to the center of the room. Thank you, High Counselor. I am here because of a terrible crime. 4 days ago, Krex forces attacked our science base on Europa. 47 human scientists were killed. Only one survived. The Krex representative laughed. Humans always exaggerate. Perhaps there was a small misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Jack's voice was sharp. I have video evidence of the attack. He nodded to Alan, who connected his data pad to the room's display system. The video began to play. It showed Krex soldiers shooting unarmed scientists who begged for mercy. Several representatives from other species gasped. The Veldari delegate covered her eyes, but the 7 council members watched without reaction. When the video ended, the room was silent. Jack spoke again. This was not a misunderstanding. It was a planned attack, and we have evidence that 3 council species helped the Krex planet. This caused an uproar. The Krex representative stood up angrily. How dare you accuse council members? Krell raised his hand for silence. Ambassador Sullivan, that is a serious accusation. Do you have proof? Yes, Jack said. He showed intercepted messages between council worlds and the Krex. The messages clearly showed that weapons and ships had been provided to the Krex, along with encouragement to attack human territories. The council members whispered to each other. Finally, Krell spoke. These messages prove nothing. They could be fake. The council finds that there is not enough evidence to blame council species for the actions of the Krex. What about the Krex themselves? Jack demanded. The video clearly shows them murdering our people. The Krex representative shrugged. Perhaps your scientists were developing weapons. Perhaps they were spying on Krex territory. The Krex Empire acted to protect itself. Jack could not believe what he was hearing. Europa is a science base for studying the ocean. It has no weapons. It is not near Krex space. Krell looked down at Jack with cold eyes. Ambassador Sullivan, the Council has reached its decision. We suggest that humans return to Earth and stay there until your species matures. The wider galaxy is clearly too complicated for you at this time. Angry murmurs came from the other human delegates. Jack stood very still, trying to control his anger. May I confer with my government? He asked stiffly. You may, Krell agreed. Jack walked to a private room where he could communicate with Earth. The faces of Earth's leaders appeared on his screen. They're dismissing us, Jack reported. They refuse to act against the Krex. They suggest we go back to Earth and stay there. General Winters cursed. They think we're weak. What are our options? President Laura Grant asked. Admiral Powell spoke up. Our fleet is ready. We can defend our territories, but fighting the entire council would be difficult. Unless we strike first, General Winters suggested. Hit them before they expect it. President Grant was silent for a moment. Then she made her decision. Ambassador Sullivan, you may inform the Council of Earth's response. We will not be dismissed. We will not abandon our colonies. If they refuse justice, then they have chosen war. Jack returned to the council chamber. All eyes turned to him as he walked to the center of the room. The people of Earth have considered the council's position, Jack said, his voice carrying to every corner of the silent room. We find it unacceptable. He straightened his shoulders and spoke the words that would change everything. In the name of Earth and all human colonies, we hereby declare a state of war against the Krex Empire and any council species who support them. Everyone went silent. In the entire history of the Galactic Council, no observing species had ever dared to declare war. For 3 minutes after Jack Sullivan's declaration, no one in the council chamber spoke. The silence was broken by the Krex representative, who started to laugh. Humans declare war on us. This is amusing. Your species barely has space travel. You have a few small ships. The Krex Empire alone has 1,000 warships, and the Council has many thousands more. Jack smiled a small, cold smile. You might be surprised by what humans can do when pushed too far. As Jack and the other human delegates left the council chamber, alarms began to sound throughout Centauri Station. On Earth, Admiral Diane Powell stood in the command center of Earth's hidden space fleet. For 5 years, humans had been building ships in secret locations throughout the solar system. The Council knew about some human ships, but they had no idea how many there really were. Operation Thunderbolt is go, Admiral Powell said into her communication device. All ships launch immediately. Across the solar system, hidden hangar doors opened in asteroids, moons, and deep space stations. Hundreds of human ships emerged, sleek and fast. They were smaller than Council ships, but had technology that Earth had kept secret. Admiral Powell boarded her flagship, the Liberty. She was 52, with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen many battles on Earth. Now she would lead humanity's first space war. All ships report ready, Admiral, said her second-in-command, Captain Frank Miller. Set course for the Krex military base in the Proxima system, Powell ordered. That's our first target. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed using a new technology that Earth scientists had developed but kept hidden from the Council. Meanwhile, Dr. Samantha Kelly worked in her lab deep under the Rocky Mountains. She was 45, brilliant, and completely focused on her work. For years, she had been developing Earth's defense systems. Quantum Shield Grid Online, she announced to her team. Activating now. Around Earth, Mars, and all human colonies, invisible shields appeared. They were based on quantum technology that the Council thought was impossible for humans to create. The Council tried to reach Earth. Admiral, a communication officer, reported to Powell. The quantum shields blocked them. They can't get into the Sol system. Good, Admiral Powell said. Let's show them what humans can really do. The human fleet arrived at the Krex military base. The Krex were completely surprised. They had not expected humans to attack so quickly or with so many ships. All ships, fire on the defense stations first, Powell ordered. Human ships fired new weapons that cut through Krex shields like they weren't there. Within minutes, the Krex defense stations were destroyed. Send in the boarding teams, Powell ordered. Captain Peter Garcia led the first boarding team. He was 36, a former Special Forces soldier on Earth before joining the Space Fleet. His team wore advanced battle suits that the Council had never seen. Remember, we want their command center intact, Garcia told his team as they boarded the main Krex station. We need their information. The Krex fought hard, but they were surprised by human tactics. Humans fought room by room, adapting quickly to each situation. The Krex were used to fighting by strict rules, but humans changed their plans whenever needed. Within 2 hours, Garcia's team had captured the Krex command center. Admiral, we have their battle plans, Garcia reported. They were planning to attack all human colonies next week. We stopped them just in time. On Council worlds across the galaxy, people watched in shock as news of the human attack spread. The Krex military base had been considered one of the strongest in the galaxy. Now it had fallen to a species that everyone thought was weak. Intelligence Officer Kevin Martinez set up a special broadcast that went to all Council worlds. It showed the video of the Europa massacre, followed by images of the human victory at the Krex base. This is what happens when you attack innocent humans, the broadcast said. We will defend our people. As Admiral Powell looked at the captured Krex base, she received messages from across human space. The quantum shields were holding. Human ships were striking Council supply lines. The war had begun, and humanity was winning the first round. They thought we were weak, Powell said quietly. That was their first mistake. 3 months had passed since humans declared war. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Council members argued with each other during every meeting. The Krex blamed the Council for not giving enough support. Other species wanted to make peace with the humans before more damage was done. How is this possible? Krell shouted during an emergency council session. Humans were supposed to be primitive. How are they defeating our best ships? The Krex representative pounded his fist on the table. My people have lost 15 major bases. Thousands of Krex soldiers are dead or captured. You promised us the humans would be easy to defeat. No one could have predicted their level of technology, said another council member. They hid their true capabilities from us. On the human ship Liberty, Admiral Powell studied the battle reports. Humans had won most fights so far, but not without losses. 23 human ships had been destroyed. Over 500 brave men and women had died. They're changing their tactics, Captain Miller told her, pointing to the latest intelligence reports. The Council fleets are starting to copy our methods. Admiral Powell nodded. Then we need to change faster than they can learn. Contact Lieutenant Reeves. I have a special mission for her. Lieutenant Maya Reeves now led a stealth squad of small, fast ships. They could slip past enemy sensors without being detected. Maya's squad had already completed 12 successful missions behind enemy lines. Admiral wants us to capture the weapons facility in the Rigel system, Maya told her crew. Intelligence says it's where they're developing new weapons to use against our quantum shields. Her second-in-command, Sergeant Dale Cooper, whistled. That's deep in Council space. Getting in will be hard. Getting out will be harder. Maya smiled. That's why they sent us. We're good at impossible missions. Using special stealth technology, Maya's ships approached the weapons facility. They looked like ordinary space debris on enemy scanners. When they were close enough, Maya gave the order to attack. Hit their communication array first, she ordered. Don't let them call for help. The battle was short but intense. Council forces at the facility fought hard, but they were surprised and outnumbered. Within 2 hours, Maya's team had control of the facility. Look at this, Sergeant Cooper said, showing Maya the weapon plans they found. They were building something that could punch through our shields. Not anymore, Maya said. Plant the charges. We're taking this place down. As Maya's team escaped with the stolen plans, the weapons facility exploded behind them. Another Council advantage was gone. Back on Earth, Dr. Kelly and her team were working on their biggest project yet. In a secret message to all Council worlds, Earth revealed the existence of what they called Star Shatterer technology, a weapon that could destroy a star and its entire system. The Council had assumed this was a bluff. Humans couldn't possibly have such technology. But Dr. Kelly had been developing it for years, originally as a way to safely remove unstable stars that threatened human colonies. We don't want to use this, President Grant said in her message to Council worlds. We only want peace and justice for our people, but we will use it if we must. Intelligence Officer Martinez monitored the reaction across Council worlds. His network of spies and communication intercepts showed growing unrest. People on Council worlds are scared, he reported. There are protests against the war on 4 major planets. They're demanding their leaders make peace with humans. Martinez had also made contact with resistance groups on several Council worlds, people who opposed the Council's rule and saw humans as potential allies. The Council is not as united as they want us to think, Martinez told Admiral Powell and President Grant during a secure meeting. Many ordinary citizens don't support this war. On Centauri Station, the Council was meeting again. This time, the mood was very different. Humans have destroyed another fleet, the Velderi representative said. Our people are asking why we are fighting this war. Why did we allow the Krex to attack human worlds? This war was a mistake. 3 other Council members nodded in agreement, but Krell and the Krex were still determined to fight. Humans must be stopped, Krell insisted. They advance too quickly. They don't follow proper development patterns. They are dangerous. But his words had less impact now. The Council was splitting into 2 groups, those who wanted to continue the war and those who wanted peace. Meanwhile, Jack Sullivan prepared for what would be the largest space battle in galactic history. Both sides were gathering their forces near Proxima Centauri. The battle would decide the direction of the war. We didn't want this fight. Jack said to himself as he looked at the battle plans. But we will finish it. The space around Proxima Centauri was filled with ships. It was the largest gathering of space vessels in galactic history. On one side, the combined fleets of the war-supporting Council species, over 3,000 ships of all sizes. On the other side, the human fleet, smaller in number at 800 ships, but each one equipped with technology that had surprised the Council so far. Admiral Powell stood on the bridge of the Liberty, looking at the tactical display. The enemy fleet was arranged in traditional Council formation. Large ships in the center, smaller ships forming protective rings around them. They're still using the same old tactics, Powell said to Captain Miller. They haven't learned yet. What's our plan, Admiral? Miller asked. Powell smiled. Something they won't expect. Contact all ships. Operation Swarm begins in 10 minutes. Across the human fleet, captains received their orders. The plan was unlike anything the Council had seen before. When the battle began, the human fleet did not form a single group to face the enemy. Instead, they broke into dozens of small squadrons. Each squadron moved independently, darting in to attack enemy ships before quickly retreating. What are they doing? Krell demanded, watching from the Council command ship. This is not proper battle formation. Where is their main fleet? The Council ships tried to target the human squadrons, but they moved too quickly. The Council's rigid battle formations, which had worked for thousands of years against other species, were useless against the human swarm tactics. Our left flank is taking heavy damage, reported a Council officer. Human ships are targeting our shield generators. One by one, Council ships lost power or exploded as human squadrons hit their weak points with precise attacks. Meanwhile, Captain Peter Garcia led a special mission. While the main battle distracted the Council fleet, Garcia's team of 20 small ships approached the Council flagship from behind. Their mission: board the ship and capture the Council High Command. Remember, we want prisoners, not casualties, Garcia told his boarding team as they prepared to enter the Council flagship. Especially the Krex leaders. The boarding team cut through the flagship's hull and stormed inside. Council security forces were caught by surprise. They were trained to fight in open space battles, not the close-quarters combat that humans excelled at. Fighting their way through the massive ship, Garcia's team reached the command center. The Krex High Command was there, including the Krex war leader who had ordered the attack on Europa. Surrender now, Garcia ordered, his weapons aimed at the Krex leaders. The Krex war leader snarled. Krex never surrender. Today you do, Garcia said calmly. Your fleet is losing. Look. He pointed to the view screen showing the battle outside. Council ships were in chaos. The human swarm tactic had completely disrupted their formation. Nearly a third of the Council fleet was already disabled or destroyed. Meanwhile, Dr. Kelly and her team had made another breakthrough. They had cracked the Council's unified communication system, which connected all Council ships. We're in, Dr. Kelly said, her fingers moving quickly over her control panel. Sending false orders now. Across the Council fleet, captains received orders that seemed to come from their high command. The orders sent ships in wrong directions, told them to fire on friendly vessels, or to retreat when they should advance. What is happening? Krell shouted as his fleet fell into complete disorder. Why aren't my ships following commands? In less than 6 hours, the battle was over. The Council fleet was defeated. Their flagship was captured. Their communication system was compromised. Over 1,000 Council ships had been destroyed or disabled. The rest had retreated or surrendered. On Earth, Intelligence Officer Martinez made a critical discovery. He found secret Council documents that proved what humans had suspected. The Council had always planned to eventually take over Earth and all human colonies. They saw us as a threat from the beginning, Martinez told President Grant. The Krex attacks were just the first step in their plan to control us. President Grant's face hardened. Send this information to Jack Sullivan. The Council wanted war. Now they'll have to accept peace on our terms. As news of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy, 4 council species immediately called for peace talks. They had seen enough. The war faction, led by Krell and the Krex, had lost their power. Admiral Powell looked out at the captured council ships. "The turning point," she said quietly. "Now we can end this war." The Veldari homeworld was chosen for the peace talks. It was neutral ground, as the Veldari had refused to fight against humans. The meeting hall was large, with a round table in the center. Light streamed in through tall windows, illuminating the representatives from all species. Admiral Powell and Ambassador Sullivan led the human delegation. They sat tall and proud, their faces showing no fear despite being surrounded by alien species that had recently been their enemies. Krell was there too, but he no longer led the council. After the defeat at Proxima Centauri, he had lost most of his power. The Krex representatives sat separate from the others, under guard. Their empire had been reduced to just their homeworld after their defeat. "This peace conference will now begin," announced Zariel, who had been chosen to lead the talks because of her friendship with both humans and council species. Jack Sullivan spoke first. "Humans did not want this war. We only wanted to live in peace and explore the stars. But when our people were attacked, we had to defend ourselves." The new council leader, a wise elder from a species called the North, nodded slowly. "We recognize that mistakes were made. The old council was afraid of how quickly humans were advancing. Fear led to poor decisions. Fear is not an excuse for murder," Admiral Powell said firmly. 47 innocent scientists died on Europa, and thousands have died in the war since then, the North elder replied. "It is time to end the cycle of violence. What are your terms for peace?" Jack displayed a hologram in the center of the table. It showed a new structure for galactic governance. "First, the old Galactic Council must be dissolved," Jack said. "In its place, we propose a new galactic alliance where all species have equal representation." This caused murmurs around the table. Some alien representatives looked shocked at the idea of equality between species. Others nodded in approval. "Second," Jack continued, "the Krex must pay reparations for the Europa massacre and their attacks on human colonies." The Krex representatives growled but did not object. They had no choice after their defeat. Third, the Krex Empire will be limited to their homeworld until they prove they can live peacefully with other species. Admiral Powell then displayed another hologram. "To ensure lasting peace, Earth will share some of our technology with all Alliance members. We call this the Pax Humana Initiative." Dr. Kelly had developed this plan. It would share human advances in medicine, agriculture, and clean energy with all peaceful species. However, military technology would remain protected. The discussions lasted for 3 days. There were arguments and disagreements, but eventually all parties agreed to the terms. On the final day, Jack Sullivan stood to make his closing speech. The room fell silent as he began to speak. "We did not want this war," he said, "but we fought it because we had to. Now we want to build a peace that will last. Humans don't desire to rule the galaxy. We just want all species to live together as equals." Jack looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each representative. The old council feared human advancement. They were right to be concerned, but for the wrong reasons. Yes, humans develop quickly. Yes, we adapt and fight fiercely when threatened. But our greatest strength is not our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to see beyond differences and work together. 1 year later, the first meeting of the new Galactic Alliance took place on Earth. Representatives from 50 species attended, including former council members and many species that had been kept as observers before. Lieutenant Maya Reeves, now promoted to admiral after her bravery in the war, represented Earth's space fleet. Dr. Kelly presented new medical technology that would save lives across the galaxy. Captain Garcia led the new Galactic Peacekeeping Force, which included members from all species. Jack Sullivan smiled as he watched the proceedings. The galaxy had changed completely in just 6 years. Humans had gone from unknown newcomers to respected equals. They had fought a war they didn't want and created a peace that would benefit everyone. "Not bad for a primitive species," Zariel said, coming to stand beside him. Jack laughed. "We've all learned important lessons. The Council learned not to underestimate humans, and humans learned that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves." Together, they looked out at the stars, not as separate species, but as members of a new galactic family.